Grr, arg.
Hey guys, welcome back to yet another edition of the Mixtape Podcast, the podcast dedicated to discussing film from a writer's perspective. I'm your host for this time around. My name is Marcelo Nostroza, joined as always by my fellow co-host, Dean Stark. And on today's edition of the show, we will be checking out or we will be discussing the 1993 film Made in America. So, as I do every week, I will kick it over to Dean so she can take us through this film.
Made in America was directed by Richard Benjamin and was written by Holly Goldberg Sloan. And if you don't know what this amazing movie is about, it's one of my personal favorite comedy movies. I've seen it so many times. I love it so much. It's about this. A young black woman discovers that her father was a sperm donor. And if that wasn't bad enough, he's white. So the opening scene, straight away we're introduced to Sarah Matthews, who's Whoopi Goldberg. And she rides her bicycles through the streets. But it's not just the nothing burger of like the credit sequence and we're just watching her ride her bicycle. We get a sense of her character. And this is what I love about this script so much, is that the characters are written really, really well. And you really get a sense of who everybody is by showing, not necessarily telling. So she's riding her bike and she rides through a park and there's signs in the park saying no bicycle riding in the park. She doesn't care. She rides over it. Right? People have to get out of her way. She doesn't get out of anybody's way. She disregards all the rules. She rides straight into traffic as if she has the right of way. She doesn't care. She's like, they're going to stop for me anyway. She has no time for rules. She basically does what she wants. And you get a sense of her character. She doesn't give a shit. She does things her own way. Everybody else fucking get out of her way. It shows that what kind of a person she is. She doesn't care, but that doesn't make her a bad person. She just doesn't care. So she gets to work and she owns a shop called the African Queen. But I really love the opening sequence and I love the song that plays over her riding her bicycle down the street. And I just think it's a good way to introduce a character by showing and not telling. What do you think?
I love the introduction of Whoopi Goldberg in this movie because, like Dean said, so much is said about Whoopi Goldberg's personality without her saying a goddamn word. I love the shot of the director showing the floor of the park that Whoopi Goldberg is sort of going through because there's a big sign, there's a big picture of a bicycle with a line through it. And that indicates to the audience that there's no riding up bicycles in this specific area that Whoopi Goldberg is riding through. I absolutely love it. There's one moment that I absolutely love, and it's right before Whoopi gets to her sort of shop. She crosses the street with her bicycle and she actually tells the car that almost runs her over to stop and going, well, what the fuck is wrong with you? And this woman just goes off the curb into the street, crosses the street, and then gets to a shop. But she has no regard for the rules at all. And that tells you so much about her character without saying a goddamn word. That is so when it comes to character development, if you can sort of indicate to your audience what your character is all about without saying anything or even without them speaking, that's perfect writing in my mind. And also, you can tell who she is as a person by what she's wearing, by the garb that she's wearing, which is really masterful plotting or masterful storytelling as well.
Yes. So she goes into the shop and she has the funniest banter with her employee. So her employee's a guy, but he is an absolute raging queen, right? I love this guy. That I wanted more of him. So she goes behind the counter and he's just like doing nothing. And she's like, move. And he's like, oh, somebody's in a mood today. And she's like, get out of the way. Like she speaks to him, not like how a boss should speak to an employee, but it's not bad. And then they just keep giving each other shit. And she's just turning around to him and she's like, oh, why do you work here? You don't have to work here. Like, you can leave. Like, it's funny. And he's like, I'm not going to leave. No, who's going to run this shop if I'm not here? Like, it's hilarious banter. And she's getting the shits with him. And customers walk in And as soon as customs walk in, her demeanor completely changes from annoyed to welcoming. She's like, "Hi, come right in, come right in." Like she's just like, you know what I mean? Like it just changes on a dime, and I love that because it shows, even when she's irritated, she knows how to turn it on for like for customers, because you have to be, if you want to sell stuff, if this is your shop, you have to be nice to customers.
You know what? I was gonna say the exact same thing.
Yeah.
In this opening scene, she is sort of off the wall crazy with her employee who's a fucking scream
Yeah.
queen. I mean, her employee starts poking at her head and makes her take off the thing that she's got on her head, that African sort of guard that she's got on her fucking
Yeah.
head. But there is a scene coming up where she's dealing with the main issue of this movie where she completely loses it.
Which is like my favorite scene.
And and she goes, but she says something that every time that she says it, it just cracks me the fuck up. And I won't spoil it here, but it's amazing. So I can't wait till we get there.
So now we switch to a high school and we meet Zora, which is Sarah's daughter. I think she's 16, 17. And Tea Cake, which is Zora's best friend, which is played by Will Smith. This is my favorite role Will Smith has ever played. Just anybody who hasn't seen this movie.
Really?
If you're a Will Smith fan,
What?
because it's comedic,
Whoa,
on
wait a minute.
time, I think it's just perfect.
Okay. You know what? This movie is a brilliant role for Will Smith, but I don't know if I'm ready to say it's my favorite role of his.
I know, but it is for me. I don't know. I loved it. I think, you know what? His role is small, but he makes it big.
Yes.
He makes a
does.
statement. And I feel like sometimes in movies, best friends can get lost in the weed, but he really makes the role his own, and you remember him. And it's not, you don't remember Will Smith, you remember the character. So it's an ode to him as an actor, as a comedic actor, and it's an ode to the writer who wrote him that way. So anyway, they're at school and they're doing a test for science class, and they're doing like a blood test to see what blood type they are. And Zora finds out she's AB and freaks out about it, because if she's AB, then her dad, who Sarah says is her dad, can't be her dad because I think he's like O negative, and like she can't be AB. And so she freaks out. She goes to her mum's store, and she's saying her blood type doesn't match her father's. And then Sarah tells her that she had a sperm donor after Sarah's husband died. But now Zora wants to know who her dad is. And this is what really pushes the story forward. This is what pushes the character in another direction. When she finds out that who she thought was her father, who's passed away, is not her father, now she's on a mission to find out who her father is. And this is where the story really takes off.
When Zora finds out that the man that she thought was her real father wasn't her father, and when she finds out that she was conceived in a plastic cup, basically, it's kind of shocking. And I love the way that Zora handles it all. And also a thing that I love about Zora is I love how independent she is, and I love how forward she is, and I love how desperate she is to have a father figure in her life.
Yeah. Yep. So Zora and T, or Will Smith's character, they go to the sperm bank so she can find information on her dad. But this is where Will Smith fucking shines, right? So she goes up to the receptionist. She's like, "Yeah, he wants to make a deposit," and T's like, "No, I don't." What? And she's like, "Yeah, he's just a bit shy. He wants to make a deposit." And he's like, "No, I don't." And she goes up to him. And she's like, "What's the problem?" And he's like, "I'm not doing this." And she's like, "Oh my God, it's not like you've never done it before." And then T just looks at her and he's like, that's my business. It's so awkward. And she's like, "Come on, I need to find information." And he's like, "Oh my God." And the receptionist it's so funny. She gives him the cup to fill up, and she's like, "It has to be filled to the top." And he's like, "What?" Like it's not a fucking, that would never happen. But anyway, she gives him a video. He still kind of doesn't want to do it. Now she made him do that so she could get behind like so she could go down the hallway so it didn't look weird. And then she asks to go to the
Go to the
bathroom, but
bathroom.
then she sneaks off and she goes to the information. She goes into the records room. Meanwhile, T is in the room and he's sitting there. He's like, "I'm not doing it. I'm not doing." And then he turns the videotape on. You can hear like porn in the background, and he starts to smile straight away. He's like, "Okay," and you could just see his face. And then Zora finds what she's looking for, um, and basically finds the name of her dad. She writes it down. Meanwhile, Tea Cake is in the room sitting down, and he's just watching the video like in a trance. And then Zora gets what is it? Zora gets busted. She runs out. T comes out of the room going, "Nurse, I need another cup," because he's already filled the first one up. And then she's like, "I found my father." So she runs out anyway. It pushes, see, this is what I like about this movie and the screenwriting. It pushes the story forward, but it's also funny. So you don't remember the scene like, oh, she goes into the records room and she finds her father's name. No, you remember the scene because of Will Smith. You remember the scene because he's fucking hilarious.
The other thing that I really enjoy about this film, we've said it various times with a lot of the films that we've covered here that are really well written. Everything in this film and every scene in this film is there for a purpose. Everything in this film pushes the story forward. And like Dean said, it not only pushes the story forward, but it pushes the story forward in a memorable way. Like Zora and T going to that sperm bank to find out whose sperm Zora came from. It's just absolutely hilarious. The one negative that I have about the scene, and
Mm,
it's a nitpick,
mm.
I don't understand why I don't have locks on these doors.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Now we meet Hal Jackson, which is the name that Zora wrote down,
Oh,
and he's played by Ted Danson, and he's rich, and he's 40 something, and he's having sex with a 20-year-old girlfriend. This whole scene introducing him says everything you need to know about him. It's showing, it's not telling. So he's 40, he's having sex with a 20-year-old. Okay, that's one thing you know about his personality. They finish up and she jumps off him. She's doing cartwheels into the bathroom and he grabs a cigarette and a beer and there's fucking old pizza on the floor. So you can see the first thing that he does in the morning, he has a cigarette, he has a beer, and he eats old pizza. So you can see he's rich because he lives in a massive house. He doesn't care about himself. He treats himself like shit. He has sex with a 20-year-old. He has no meaningful connections in his life. And that sets up his character perfectly. So anyway, she fucking bounces in and then leaves, and he's so exhausted by her energy. He's so
I
exhausted.
okay, okay. I cannot stand this woman. I
That's Jennifer Tilly.
I do not. Yeah, I know, but her voice is so
I know, but that's why they cast
God
her,
damn
because
it.
she was that irritating girlfriend. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's annoying. She's super annoying. But Jennifer Tilly does a great job with the character. Anyway, Zora shows up because she's gotten his address, and he's backing out of the driveway. He's got this truck, and she's asking where Hal Jackson is, and he goes, "That's me. You're talking to him." And she's like, "But you're white." And he's like, "Yeah." And then he says, "Look, if you want to talk, you got to get in the car. I'm late for work. If you don't want to talk, like, you got to make a decision now." So she jumps in his car, and the way he drives is the way Sarah rides a
Oh my god.
bicycle. Total disregard for rules.
Yeah.
Thinks he owns the road. Like, it's exactly the same. So you can see that Sarah and Hal are different, but they're the same. And I really, really like the way that their characters are written. They're opposite, but they attract each other because they're the same. Anyway, that was the setup of Hal Jackson. What do you reckon?
I love the setup of Hal Jackson because again, like they did with Whoopi Goldberg's character, they told us everything that they wanted to tell us about Hal Jackson by his introduction scene. He's an alcoholic. He doesn't care about his body. He has sex with 20-year-olds. Like everything everything in reference to the way that his character is built and made was on screen, and they did it visually, was so fucking delightful. And by the way, like yeah, I mean, look, I've been a fan of Ted Danson's character since Cheers. So So when I first saw this movie, um, when I was a kid, it was so delightful to see this actor in another role that wasn't a Sam Malone kind of role. But I loved Ted Danson, and I think that he did a fantastic job with the character of Hal Jackson. Also, when Zora goes up to his house, and I'm like, "Are you crazy, girl? I mean, are you insane? Like seriously, what does Zora think that she's gonna get out of this? What kind of scenario do you think Zora has in her head? Because
Mm.
I'm like, this is not gonna end well.
She's desperate and she's also naive because she is 17. So she's
Yeah.
not thinking with a level of maturity. She's just like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna have a dad and it's gonna be great."
No, and no, with you saying that, I kind of feel sympathy for Zora.
So they get to
Yeah.
Hal's work and he owns a car yard. He's a car salesman, but he owns the lot. And he's getting ready to shoot a commercial. Now this is the part where I'm like, I'm not sure about this. Zora's trying to say, "I have something to tell you." Why she couldn't have told him in the car, I don't know, right? And he's like, "Okay, yeah. I'll listen. I got to shoot a commercial. All the crew's there, everybody's there." He's like, "Look, listen, we can talk after, no problem, but I got to do this." In the middle of shooting the commercial,
This is so stupid.
she keeps yelling, "I have something to tell you," and I'm like, "Dude, you just wait. Do you have That's what I mean. She's naive, she's impatient, she's desperate. She could have waited half an hour until they finished doing like the first section of the commercial, but she's like, "I have to do it now, I have to do it now." It's the only time I ever go, okay, but it makes sense because she's so desperate that she would do that. So anyway, he's shooting the commercial and he's like, "Just what do you want? Just say what you want and then go away." And then she says, "You're my father." And he's like, "What?" And then they have a conversation in his office. And basically, he wants nothing to do with being her dad. He's a 40-year-old successful business guy. He dates 20-year-olds. He doesn't want responsibility. He doesn't want commitment. He doesn't want a kid. He doesn't want to take that responsibility because he's set up as that kind of a character. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That's just him saying, like, "I'm sorry, I don't want this." And that's totally within his right to do. But she's like you said, she thought it was going to go one way and it went the other way. So thoughts?
That is the one scene in this entire movie that I feel is really, really, really written and not realistic. Because listen, for someone to be so desperate as to fuck up somebody's take on a commercial is really annoying. Like she's waited this long. Why couldn't she wait 30 minutes or 40 or 40 other minutes? Like I don't understand why she couldn't tell him in the car. I don't get it. I don't get it. Um this is the only scene in the movie that feels like it was designed in a specific way to get that reaction from Hal when he turned around and he goes, "What?" Like, oh, and also before that, there's this great moment when Hal's getting into his costume, and he gets some sequins stuck in his zipper, and Zora comes in and gets down on her knees like she's gonna blow him off, but she wants to like get the get his zipper loose so he can pull the thing out, the sequence that he has in his zipper. And Hal's secretary comes in and she goes, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
such a such a funny moment. Such a
Yeah,
funny
that's funny.
moment.
That is funny. So Zora gets home and she tells her mum she went to the sperm bank. She got the details of her father. She met him and he's an asshole. Oh, and he's white.
How many guesses do we get?
Ma, I found my real father today and he's a mean asshole.
What?
I found my father.
Wait. What does that mean, you found your father?
I went to the sperm bank, got your file from the computer, and he's my father. Ma, it was terrible.
Are you crazy?
I'm sorry.
What did you do?
I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, come here. It's okay. It's okay. Mommy's here. It's okay. It's all right.
Ma? haven't heard the worst part.
What?
He's a car salesman.
Car salesman?
Yeah. And Ma, you're not gonna believe this, but he's a white car salesman.
Wait a minute. What do you mean? What? He's like white?
White.
You mean he's like a creamy eggshell kind of tan?
No, like white, like totally white, like a white guy.
No, you mean that he was so light you thought he was a white guy?
No, he's so like Ma, he is a white guy.
What do you mean he's white?
I'm sorry.
I don't want a white. What is he doing being white?
He's white.
I didn't ask for a white man. I distinctly asked for a black man.
Well, did you see the guy? I mean, was the guy black?
Didn't I tell you the man came in on a tube? He was in the tube. I couldn't see anything.
Well, you should have asked to see him.
Don't kill me. Kill me. No, don't kill me. You know what? I'll kill myself. How's that? What do you mean he's white? I can't believe wait, you know what? Forget it. It doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's no big deal. Hell, your hair's always been fine, so what? You're a little bit lighter than me. Big deal.
Right, and I mean, look at Lacey and Risa. They're both really light, and both of their parents are really dark.
They're my complexion.
And look at those kids on the Cosby Show.
Oh, please, let's not get into that.
You know they're mixed, right?
Well, of course they're mixed.
Okay, well then we can never really tell.
Who's going to tell? Who cares? Are you going to tell somebody? No. I'm not going to tell somebody, so let's eat.
Okay.
Okay.
It's even worse.
Oh, please, what?
It's Hal Jackson.
Who?
Hal Jackson. Because real cowboys are strong and tough, and so are American trucks.
You mean the schmuck on the television with all the animals? How's your pal?
It's my dad.
This is one of my favorite scenes in the whole fucking movie.
It's so great. I love that scene.
Sorry for-
Whoopi Goldberg is
Yeah,
gold.
yeah.
Sarah's at her shop and she's on the phone to the sperm bank when two older upper class white ladies walk in asking after wedding books. And Sarah says, we only hold, traditional African wedding books. And they're like, well, we got to start somewhere. And she's like, okay, in the back. So she's on the phone. She's like, no, I ordered a black man. And I don't think that's what I got. And then they go up together and they're like, oh, where's this? And she's like, they keep interrupting a conversation. I mean, I understand when you're having like a serious conversation and someone keeps interrupting you. She's totally, unaware that she's the shop owner. She's like, I don't want to deal with this. And then she starts yelling at them. She's like, babe, I'm on the phone. Would you just do your thing? And they're like, thing? What thing? And they're like walking away like totally confused. And then she sees a newspaper ad for How Motors on her desk. And that pushes us to the next scene. But I love this scene. I love how Whoopi Goldberg plays this scene where she's trying to be nice, but these two old ladies are so annoying. It's like, go in the corner.
Yeah,
I will help you when I'm ready. Shut up.
Yeah. Also, I love the part where one of the women take one of the T-shirts that says "African Bushwoman," and they walk up to Whoopi Goldberg and they say, "What's a bushwoman?" And then Whoopi Goldberg says, me, I'm a bushwoman.
Oh, yeah. She goes, what's an urban bushwoman? Me, I'm an urban bushwoman. I'm an urban bushwoman. And they're like, oh. She's just so frustrated. She's like, get away from me.
We're losing it here. Oh my god.
Oh my
This
God,
is so
it's so
funny.
funny.
Oh god.
Okay, so Sarah goes to see Hal. And he has it out with him about the way he treated Zora. Zora gets there, and I love this. Zora gets there, and Hal goes. They're all in his office. That he doesn't know what to do. He's so confused, and he's like, "Can I have a cigarette?" And Sarah says no, and Zora says, "Yes, it's his office, right?" And then Sarah says, "But these are my lungs. Let him kill himself, not me." Just the way she delivers it, which is like true. So funny.
It's so true. It's so true.
So he offers Sarah a drink because he's got this like mini bar in his office, and she ends up getting really drunk and basically putting down Hal and his office decor. Is like the shag rug. Yeah, that makes sense for you. And look, the Titty Sisters on the wall. Yeah, that makes sense for you. Like she's just digging into him. And she basically says, stay away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, she brings down his Western aesthetic.
Yeah, everything. She's so drunk. She doesn't even know what she's saying at this point. She tells him to stay away and that you're not Zora's father, stay away from her. And then at the same time, Zora and Hal both crack their knuckles and Sarah just freezes. And she's just like, and her demeanor totally changes and she doesn't know what to do. She's shocked. And so she's like, I'm gonna go now. I'm just gonna go outside now. And he's like, oh, okay, okay, go, okay. So they go outside, and it's so funny. She goes to ride her bicycle. He's like, do you want me to give you a lift home? And she's like, no, I got my bicycle. But she's drunk, right? And she ends up falling onto a parked car trying to pedal. Oh my god! The one thing I love about that scene is that it's funny, but Hal Jackson is set up like a typical asshole, but he's actually not. He's
Yeah.
actually
But he's
he's not.
not.
He's actually really, really nice. He never says "get the fuck out" or "I want nothing to do with you." He tolerates it, but he's actually a really nice guy. So I like that progression of his character where you actually really like him. The setup makes you think he's a dickhead, but his personality is just like, I actually really like him. He's really nice, and the scene was funny, and then it shows, obviously Zora and Hal doing the same thing at the same time. And now Sarah doesn't know what to think, but it's a funny scene and I love it.
The setup for Hal Jackson as a character, if you think about it, is deceiving. Because, like Dean said, he's set up to be an asshole, but everything that he does in the movie and every interaction that he has with people in the movie, not even counting Zora and her mother, but the people that he works, his employees at the car dealership, he treats everybody like they're a king or a queen. Like the way that he treats everybody is so opposite from what the writers want us to think about him. It's just so well done. But also, I love the moment when Whoopi Goldberg comes into Hal's dealership, and Hal thinks that Whoopi Goldberg is just another customer, and he makes a bet with his employees, and he goes, $100 I can't sell. I can't bag the first person that comes to this. The next person that comes to the dealership, and the next person that comes to the dealership is Whoopi. So every line that Whoopi delivers in this movie is fucking gold. It's just
gold.
So good. Her comedic timing in this movie is so good. I mean, look, I love Whoopi in Sister Act, but her performance in this film, I think, is a lot deeper, and I think it's different in a way. I think I like her performance in this movie a little bit more than I do in the original Sister Act. I might sound crazy for saying that.
No, you don't. You don't. So Sarah's drunk. Hal gives Sarah a lift back to her store. And when they get there, the two older white ladies are still inside because Sarah forgot they were there and she locked them in. And now they're all dressed in like African clothing and Sarah had for sale and wants to buy all these books. And Hal's like, oh, is that how you get people to buy stuff? You just lock them in until they buy something. Anyway, Hal goes upstairs to the bathroom and then he sees pictures of Sarah's late husband and then of Zora growing up. And he basically says he lives for enjoyment, which shows why he has a 20-year-old girlfriend, drinks, smokes. But now we can see he's kind of, just looking at the picture of Zora, he's kind of wishing he made different choices. And it's interesting because I think people get to a certain age and they look back and they're like, oh, I wish I made different choices, because everybody wants to have fun and have pleasure and all that in whatever form that is. But you get to an age where you're like, shit, I actually don't have anything meaningful in my life at all. And this is what makes him realize he doesn't actually have anything meaningful. Everything's very surface level. So Sarah says she wants nothing to do with him. You're not Zora's father, get out. And basically tells him to leave, and he does.
I found this scene very, very affecting because when Hal goes upstairs to the bathroom and he comes out of the bathroom, and when he sees the pictures of Charlie and the pictures of Zora on the wall, and what he feels, like Dean said, that sense of what he could have done with his life, I really identify with that a lot.
So Zora goes to see Hal at the dealership when she shows up. Hal is filming a commercial where he's riding an elephant. And the elephant trainer has a bell he rings to let the elephant know what to do, where to go. And then Sarah comes along on her bicycle after finding out Zora is there because she's pissed off. She's like, oh, she told Zora to keep away from him and she's gone there to get her daughter. But she starts ringing her bicycle bell. And what ensues next is the elephant chasing Sarah on her bicycle down the street because of her bell. It's following the bell. Hal is still riding it. So he's riding it down the street. Nobody can stop this elephant because this elephant has been trained to follow the bell. So it's following her down the street. There's fucking traffic shit going on. And until it gets to this little beach area and Hal jumps off into the water. And then he confronts Sarah and he says, the elephant was following your bell on your bike. And Sarah starts laughing hysterically. She was like, it was following my bell on my bike? And he's like, yeah, he's so pissed. He's like, yeah, he's following your bike, your bell. And she just, oh my God, she's almost on the floor thinking it's so hilarious what's just happened. And she was like, I was so scared. I didn't know what was happening. And Hal marches off in a huff. And basically they filmed the whole thing because the producers like, film everything. So they just turned it into a commercial. But it's such a funny scene because the whole movie, Sarah has been very serious. This is the first time where she's actually laughed, where she's actually gone, oh my God, and seen the funny side. So she's starting to kind of open up and not be such an angry character, which I liked.
I really enjoyed this scene because look, I think the funniest parts about this, I think the funniest sections of this movie is watching Hal shoot his commercials. And I also really love the way that this commercial sort of turns into a nightmare situation for Hal as he's going through the streets on top of the elephant that's chasing Sarah with the bell. But I also like how this commercial kind of backfires on them, but also leads to something big for Hal's dealership. But as a to move to Dean's point, I also like how this shows the progression of Sarah's character, that she's actually slightly beginning to change because of Hal being a influence and a presence in her life now.
Yeah.
There's even a moment when Hal comes out of the water and he brings Sarah's bike over and he goes, you see this? He was chasing the goddamn fucking bell, and he rips the bell off and he throws it that way, right? And he starts to walk off. When he starts to walk off, Sarah says, "Oh, you look cute when you're wet."
Yeah.
So that comment indicates to the audience that she's lightening up a little. She's lightening up a little bit.
Yeah.
And she might be open to eventually dating this guy who initially she thought was a fucking waste of space Texas drunk. So it's a scene that serves so many multi-purposes. It's so well done.
So next scene is a funny scene between Hal and his 20-year-old Jennifer Tilly girlfriend. He just wants to relax and have a massage. He's had a big day and she just will not stop talking and her voice is so irritating and she's just talking about shit. And you can see his face like, shut the fuck up. I just want peace and quiet. She's like, do you want me to sing to you? And he's like, yes. No. And then she starts singing like right in his ear and his face is just like, kill me now, right? Each time we see them together, it shows just how incompatible they are. But it suggests that the only reason he's with her is because he doesn't want to be alone. That's what it's starting to say, because they don't have any of the same interests. They're not compatible. They don't get along, not really. They don't even talk. Like every time they're in a scene, bar that scene, it's they don't have deep conversations. There's nothing deep about their relationship. So what do you think?
The only reason that these two people are together is because of the physical relationship. These people don't connect with each other in any kind of way on a meaningful level. Her character doesn't work for me at all, but I realized why she was in the movie. I wish I wish her character could have been done differently, or it could have been done by a different actress, because I really think that a serious if if this relationship was done with a better actress, and if it was played more serious, I think it could have worked better.
Yeah, but she was just a device to show his character more.
Okay.
I feel like. So that's why
Okay.
they didn't give her any depth. It was
All
just to
right.
show that he doesn't know how to form connections and shit like that.
Okay. All right. All right. It was I guess for me, that whole thing of making her a device was very vanilla.
Yeah.
And I wanted something more out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So Hal gets to work and all the cars are selling because of the elephant commercial. So by the end of the day, he's pretty much cleared out. And for a car salesman, there's nothing better than being cleared out. So he calls his girlfriend, the 20-year-old, who says, she's at the gym. She doesn't know when she'll be done. And she doesn't care because he's like, oh, I've sold all the cars. And she's like, yeah, that's great. Like, she doesn't care about what he's doing. And he just wants someone to share it with. He wants someone to say, oh my, to be as excited as he is. And there's nobody. He closes up and, everybody's got their own thing. Everybody's got their own families because everybody's a bit older. Everybody's got plans. And they're like, have you got plans? Like, yeah, man, I've got plans. And then but we know he doesn't. He just goes and sits in his car. And just that shot of him sitting in his car, it fucking says everything. He's got nobody to share this with. And that's the thing. You can be a successful business person or creative person, but at the end of the day, if you go home to nobody, if you've got nobody to share it with, what's the point? It's not happiness if you don't have that deep connection with someone to share it with. And that's what he's realizing, that he doesn't have that person. That's what's missing. So I loved that scene because it took this movie from a comedy to a deep drama.
This movie is a comedy outwardly, but I really think that it has a lot to say about the way that the way that we perceive what we think is happiness, and the way that we perceive the people that raise us. The whole thing is that the driving force of this movie is that Zora was looking for her real father. And I think that although the person that she found wasn't the person that she thought she was going to run into, Hal was a person that she needed. And better yet, Hal needed her even more to finally have someone to celebrate his life with.
So Hal ends up going to Sarah's house because he's got nobody. He doesn't have friends. He's got nobody. And he brings her a present. He brings her a brand new bell for her bike, and a helmet, and a book of maps for Zora because she wants to go traveling. And then he asks Sarah out for dinner, and then she accepts. So it's funny because they go on a date and they get along really well. And it's just, you don't necessarily hear what they're talking about, but they're in deep conversation. They're walking around, and with him and his 20-year-old girlfriend, you don't get that. They never talked, but they talked for hours. Like, him and Sarah talked for hours and hours and hours. They just couldn't stop talking. And they form this connection, and they get back to Sarah's place and basically jump on each other because they've formed this connection. And they're kissing until they hear Zora get home from her date. And then they pretend they were watching TV. It's so funny. It's like they jump. The timing of when Zora comes in the door is perfect. It's timed perfectly because they're trying to get their clothes back on. They jump on the couch, they put the TV on, and then Whoopi literally sits down and then moves forward, and then the door opens. But her hair's everywhere. So fucking something's going on. And Zora can see that the house is messed up, that something's gone on between them. And then Zora gets angry at her mum, telling her that she wanted this for her, not for her mum. And when it doesn't work out between the two of them, where does it leave her? Now, this might sound like a bratty thing, but I understand where she's coming from, because she wanted this for her, not for someone for her mum to date. And she feels like her mum is kind of taking it from her. So I do understand why she kind of spit the dummy. So what do you think?
I did not think that this was a bratty move by Zora when she really sussed out what happened between Sarah and Hal in this moment. When Zora basically had a heart attack when she found out that um, when she found out that Sarah was sort of like taking away a potential relationship that she was going to have with Hal, I really identify with that.
So Hal gets home and his girlfriend is 20-year-old girlfriend is there talking to a guy she met at the gym who's also 20, and they're both idiots.
This guy's an idiot.
Oh, they're both idiots, but they're supposed to be idiots. And they want to go to this concert. And Hal says, look, go. I don't care. And he just he doesn't care. He goes, go, have a good time. And it's funny. Again, it shows the time gap, right? She's 20. She wants to go to concerts, and he's 40. He's like, I'm not going to go to a concert fucking 11 p.m. I'm going to sleep. But then we see him pouring some whiskey and going to drink it, but then tipping it down the sink, because the reason he drinks is because he doesn't have anything in his life. But now he's found a connection. He doesn't need to drink. So he heads into work the next day and he's happy. He tells his secretary, take the day off. He's happy because he's found a connection, a genuine connection that makes him happy. It's not surface level. It's like, I found someone I can fucking talk to. And everybody out there that says, oh no, I don't need anybody. Yeah, you do. Everybody needs a connection where you can be deep and you can tell someone stuff and be vulnerable and all of that. And he's found that person that accepts him and that doesn't judge him. Sarah comes down to Hal's office and basically tells him Zora is upset about them being together, and Hal thinks Sarah is just being scared and she wants to run, and they end up having a huge fight because he wants to hold on to this connection with every fiber of his being, and she's backing away and that he doesn't know what to do. So Sarah rides home on her bicycle and basically gets hit by a car, because we know how she rides her bicycle. So she gets hit by a car. But that was a really kind of dramatic scene. But this movie is a comedy, but it's so realistic of when you find something genuine, you just want to hold on to it, like by any means necessary. And that's what he showed. But it's really great screenwriting of arc of a character, of getting to the like a 3-dimensional character rather than a 2-dimensional character. So I thought it was great.
Yeah. It's funny. I watch this movie like maybe twice a year, but when I watched it to talk about it from a screenplay artist's perspective, I found so many connecting points with these characters that I didn't previously see. It's really kind of funny. And I also connected with Hal in the moment when he decided not to drink because he found that connection with a human being, and this human being, or AKA Sarah, made him feel like he was worth it and made him feel like he could fly. The screenplay writing in this movie is so well crafted and so well done, because this movie starts out as one thing, a comedy. And then it suddenly turns into this deep philosophical sort of meta conversation about life and about loneliness and about connection. I think it's so cool.
Yeah.
That a comedy, that a comedy can make you think so much about your life. I mean, listen, I might be talking out of my ass, but I think this is so cool.
Look, I love this movie, but if I have a problem when comedies do this, because a lot of comedies are branded like a comedy, but halfway, or not halfway, but like the third act comes along and it turns into a drama and it's really emotional. And I'm like, why? I don't know why comedies do that. It's like the first 2 acts are like great comedy, and then the last act it's like, oh, sadness. Like, I hate it when they with this movie, but I fucking hate it when they do that.
You know when they do that? It's a bait and switch.
I don't like it. If it's a comedy, it's a fucking comedy.
It should remain a comedy, but it's a bait and switch because they reel you in with ice cream and candy, right? But then in the third act, they make you eat your vegetables, which they shouldn't do.
Yeah. You know what comedy doesn't do that? My Cousin Vinny does not do that. It's a comedy from start to finish.
Yeah, that's
what it
right.
Fucking should be.
Yeah, it is.
Not that I'm putting down this movie. I love this movie, but with other movies, I hate it when they do that.
No, I couldn't believe how much this movie changed once we got into the third act. It was crazy.
Yeah. So Zora tells Hal that Sarah is in the hospital and they rush there and Sarah's in a coma and they're asked to give blood. And then the next day, Sarah wakes up and basically forgives Hal because you know what? When you nearly die, you just forgive people. You just forgive people. So Hal gets home and his girlfriend. Now, you will have to answer this for me because I had a problem with this. Hal gets home and his girlfriend basically is moving her stuff out. She's like, I can't do this. I want more for my life. Breaks up with him. And he's like, fine with it. He doesn't give a shit. He's like, great. I want you to have a life. I want you to go. And she's like, oh, I know you'll miss me. He's like, yep, I'm going to miss you. Yep. He wants her to get the fuck out. He doesn't care. And so she goes with a little boyfriend he met at the gym. She met at the gym. And that's fine. And she ends up going. And the issue that I have with that, I would have liked to see him break it off with her once he made the connection with Sarah, and he didn't. And that's an issue for me. So he continued to have...
That would have been better.
Right. He continued to have a girlfriend even though he formed this connection. Now, did he do it out of fear? It wasn't going to work with the connection, so he had a backup? I don't know. That wasn't written. I would have liked that a little bit more, but I would have liked him saying, you know what? I'm going to break up with you. I wanted him to do it.
No, you know why he stayed with his instructor crazy girlfriend? Listen. In his core, I don't think Hal had it in him to break up with her,
Right.
because he's such a nice guy.
That's true.
I think the only way he would have been. The only way that he would have broke it off with her, if things really got serious with him and Sarah.
True. That's true.
Like, if he had no choice, he would have done it. But there's a moment early on in the movie where Hal is smoking and he goes upstairs. I'm going to bring it back. He goes upstairs and his little girlfriend is listening to a self-help cassette tape. And he just, with his hand, sort of just moves her hair, because she has her hair tied up in a bun, and he moves her hair away from her face. He treats his girlfriend like a child.
Because she is one.
Who does that?
She is one.
Yeah, she is.
That's
one.
a problem.
I think that's another reason why he didn't do it, because he realizes that he's basically dating a sperm.
Yeah, pretty much. Hal visits Sarah and Zora in the hospital and tells them he's just found out that he's not Zora's father via the blood test that he gave. He called the sperm clinic and they actually said that when the files were digitized, they were all scrambled. And Zora and Sarah basically don't know what to say. He doesn't know what to say. And then he just leaves because he's got to think. He really likes Zora and he really likes Sarah, but does this make a difference for him? That's what he's got to work out. So what do you think?
I find this scene very, very sad because the writer really compounds the scene with the fact that Zora is telling Sarah that she just got an exclusive scholarship and she's going to be able to use that scholarship to pay for MIT. Like it is a happy moment directly followed by a shitty moment. And another thing, you don't have to be related to somebody to be their father and to take care of them.
Yep. So
the fact that he goes away to think about it, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You love Zora. You have a connection with Sarah. I'm like, go for it, dude. The fact that he had to go away and think about it really ticked me off.
I think it's the responsibility of it, because it's like, okay, well, if I'm not her father, then I don't have to be, because it's a big responsibility to take on that role. So I think he had to go away to see if he felt like he was ready to do it.
And also, you have to remember that Zora has had this image of what her father could potentially be. Like, could Hal ever live up to what Zora has in her head?
Yeah, exactly. So this is the last scene, Zora's graduation. and Zora gets an award, and she asks her mum to come up on stage. And then Hal shows up and walks with Sarah because Sarah's just gotten out of hospital. She's got a cane. And they walk to the stage, and Zora says to everybody on the microphone, "This is my mum," and then Hal says, "And your dad." And she says, "And my dad." And it's really nice. It's like you get goosebumps, and they're all smiley, and then they do a whole like fucking dance number because of the graduation. Like it's a nice ending because he's decided it's a really, really fantastic arc for Hal from beginning to. I don't really see I see an arc sort of with Sarah, but it's more of an arc with Hal because it's just like where he started to
It's
where
short.
he is. It's like you can see it. But I like the ending. It was really sweet.
The arc with Sarah is cut short.
Yes.
The only individual, and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but the only individual that gets a real arc in this movie is Hal.
Yeah. What I would have liked to see is Sarah on her bicycle, but abiding by the rules. That would have been enough to show change in her.
That'd been really cool, right?
Yeah, riding her bike at the end of the movie, but like not going out into traffic and not riding through the park and being more aware of people. And yeah, that would have been really cool.
Also, it would have been really, really cool if they would have rigged. Like, I wanted more of the Will Smith character because he was so good.
He had a scene before that I didn't mention because it wasn't really part of the story, but where
so good.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. Where Zora gets
the sidewalk.
Yeah. He's on the side, like, okay, he's totally in love with Zora, totally in love with her, right? And she just sees him as like her fucking kid brother, kid best friend. She goes out on a date and they drive off, and he has this. I don't even know if it was in the script or if it feels like something Will Smith would just fucking make up. He's got this whole thing where he reenacts like a man and a woman like having a fight, but he does both roles, and then he just walks down the street like a disgruntled woman, and it's just like it's the fun. And Sarah's standing there like, what? Like, but she knows he's weird. But anyway, that's what I mean. Will Smith is like gold in this movie.
You got the impression that T-Pain actually loves Zora?
Oh, he was totally in love with her. Totally in love with her. Yeah.
Okay. In a romantic sense.
Oh yeah. Yep. That's what I got.
Okay. I did not get that, but now next time I see this movie, I'm gonna look at it totally differently.
Trivia?
But yeah, you go to your trivia.
There's not much. I don't know why, but there's just not much. I know. So Whoopi Goldberg and the actress Nia Long, who played Zora, they're actually less than 15 years apart.
What?
Yeah, Nia Long has just got one of those faces where she just looks really young.
So okay. So how old was she when she did this?
I don't know. But they weren't that far apart in age.
Oh wow.
Originally cast as Zora was Thandie Newton.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Cause listen, I love Thandie Newton.
Should have been good.
Yeah, I love Thandie Newton. So that would have been interesting indeed.
The last piece of trivia is my favorite. Carrie Fisher was an uncredited script doctor on the film.
Woo! That's why it's so funny.
She did that with Sister Act as well. So I reckon Whoopi Goldberg brought her in.
You're right. She did do. Good call. I totally forgot that. She did do that with Sister Act.
Carrie Fisher is an amazing screenwriter, and she always does it uncredited. And it is a testament to her character because it's not that she didn't want anyone to know. She just didn't need credit for it. And amazing screenwriter. Amazing. Nobody knows that though.
No. Yeah. And also it shows a lot about her character that most of the work that she did throughout her career, it was attributed to other people. And to find out that Carrie Fisher was such a brilliant writer, you would have had to read between the lines like we do on this show.
Exactly. I mean, everybody's like, "Oh, Princess Leia, yeah, that's great," but it's like she was so much more talented than that, and nobody fucking knows. Mm-hmm. But anyway, that's it. That's my trivia.
All right, guys. So with all that being said and out of the way, listen, guys. If you like the show that we do here and you want to send us an email with comments, questions, concerns, whatever, you can email us at themixtapepod at AOL.com. But just in case, if you're going to come back, next week, we will be talking about the 1996 film classic entitled Fear. So, with all that being said and out of the way, as I say often, if someone is ever kind enough to make you a mixtape, that must truly mean that they love you.
The Mixtape Podcast is a Balloonhead Productions presentation.